Hi everybody, welcome to the channel for a new battle report from ETC 2024 in Krakow. So after a first day, which was disappointing for us because of the heavy loss against Team Italy, we had to climb back the ranking again. So we're going to try to aim to make a solid day 2 to be in contention for the podium on the final day. Basically, that was our new goal. So we were facing Team USA for the round number 3, and myself paired against Neil. So this is my list, you know it already, and this was Neil's list. So he's playing basically 2 big units. You have a big unit here of spears, 1 big unit of judicators, and a third quite expensive unit of dread knights. So that's the 3 main scoring units which are quite capable in combat. They are obviously supported by some characters. The prince will go into the spears in this game, and the BSB and general into the judicator to make the unit even better. Then we have a master of witchcraft, which is quite strong against me due to I think the random move, and twisted effigy are quite good against the bastion especially. Has some other small support unit and chaff piece, for example here the Shadow Rider, the Leviathan, and obviously the 2 hunting chariots, which are really good to provide some zoning support in combat, but mainly very good shooting abilities. So I think, yeah, good list, I would say. Also some magical resistance to protect the Judicator that wants to reach combat as soon as possible and as full as possible. We were playing King of the Hill on diagonal. So as always with King of the Hill on the diagonal, you can use this geometry of the, like I call it usually, the strong triangle. I can finally draw it more or less. But basically, if you're able to pick a terrain in a part of the map where you can put a lot of strength and your opponent cannot put much, this gives you a huge advantage and make it really hard for the opponent to get it. And you will see it will be the case for one of us in this battle. Below you have all our spell selections for this game. Matchup analysis, yeah, I was finally able to catch an elf in this ETC. It's definitely, overall I felt I was in green against most elves that I had in my matrix, because as usually my range damage does a lot against res 3 armies. And this is the case here. Secondary, you will see very hard to win for me in this game. My aim will be to reduce the block quickly to avoid risky combat, because yeah, it has a lot of combat damage output, so let's reduce them a little bit. But in the same time, I must say my block will be really hard for him to break. If I set up counter charges, I mean, due to Infernal Brand, some of my units are not going to break on the charge. For example, the Bastion, so I can take any charge, and then if I have good counter charge setup, that should be safe enough. My estimation was a 12 in the matrix. Deployment wise, so my opponent is going to win the roll for side and is going to pick here the wall as his piece of terrain to defend, which is very strong choice, because as you can see, I have here an impassable, which is annoying to deploy any scoring unit. Basically, if I wanted to put something here, I could have put the Anointed alone, but then I felt this could be easily a trap in case he deploy a strong right flank here, which was possible because I was going to drop first turn. Then my Anointed here would be lost. So I elected not to do that, but I pick obviously the forest here as my piece of terrain here to defend. So that's going to be mine to defend. My deployments here, I drop everything for first turn. I felt here board control matters, so I elected to put in this small flank the 2 single models that are very flexible, can easily back in my line, and then in 2 turn completely empty the right flank, and in case he goes for heavy right flank, then basically he would face nothing. So that would be the idea. Then I put all my shooting here together, also in the anticipation if he goes for a strong right flank, then the first thing he would touch would be my shooting, which is fine. Then we have Chaff Piece, Lugar, Incarnate, and the Anointed are here to cover left flank, right flank, and they can push a bit. Obviously I would have liked to put them in contention to go here for the right, but I needed something to close the left flank. So I could have potentially, yeah, it's kind of hard due to the house. I mean, it would have pushed my Bastion even more to the left if I wanted to try to fit them here in the middle. It was kind of hard to find a good spot for them, but I could have potentially, for the secondary, if I'm thinking now, try to place them somewhere here behind, and then on turn 1 push somewhere in between, in case he doesn't go for a strong right flank, which he did in this game. He didn't go heavily on the right, but more balanced and facing me. Then that would have been a way to do it, and then only the Incarnate to zone the left flank would have been also a decent choice. And in case he's able to escape my line of sight with Leviathan in the early turn, I can always turn around the Anointed and come here and zone him again. So I felt, yeah, maybe I could have give myself a bit more possibilities to go for his wall on the right with the Anointed that are my most mobile scoring unit. Anyway, deployment wise on his side, so he counter deployed, we have the fast cav on his left, we have then Leviathan, we have here the auxiliaries, we have the big block of spear with the prince, big block of judicator with general BSB, we have the beast breaker with the witchcraft, 1 chariot, 2 chariot, and the cavalry partially on the hill. My turn 1, I push quite aggressively on my left flank. I find the first opening here. I'm able to, with march, to be within 8 of his Leviathan, making him a hard march check. At the moment, non-rollable, non-general, and if he fails it, I'm able to basically make sure that I'm going to be able to charge him. So that's what I wanted. I kept the Anointed here to look at the fast cav, but to be honest, I don't really care if he goes around here. That would just potentially put some pressure on my chaff. But that's also one reason more why the Anointed are not so... I was a bit stuck due to the left impassable. So that's another reason why I could have potentially used the Anointed a bit otherwise. But yeah, that's how it is. So I push the Bastion to get into range, magic range, I think with them on 18 and potentially a 24 somewhere on the big brick, or 24, I think 24 on the chariot basically. As well, I back off a little bit my single model on the left to basically not be shot on the overlord by the chariot on turn 1. And that's it. The magic phase, he binds called Gravecall, and I get a pentagram before the breast weapon. I pentagram the chariot, and I roll very good with the d6 plus the attribute, and I kill the chariot outright. So that was a lucky pentagram. This chariot is dead, provoking some panic check. Both panics are passed, so that's all fine. And then on 4 dice I'm going to fail the breast weapon, so that's a bit unlucky to fail it, but yeah, I'm quite happy to get the chariot killed on turn 1. His turn 1 is going to fail the march, so the Leviathan is going to march forward, and basically makes an interesting move which forces me to deal with him because he's looking at my flank here. So if I don't charge him right now, he's going to charge something in the flanks, or my chaff is going to be annoying. The fast cav go behind the impassable. The cavalry moves a bit forward. He redeployed the chariot, his block here. He enters into the field to have some cover, and he pushes also forward, ready to punish me basically in case I make a wrong choice with my charges. That's about it. In the magic phase, he got a big twisted effigy on 4 dice against 4 dice on my Bastion, despite my MR3. So, okay, no shooting and -2 to the magic. So that's quite important to my ability to potentially push, because as you can see, I could get here potentially a 12 for the shot. Those guys could also potentially shoot. So I had an aggressive here option to go for I'm 2, 4, 16, 36 shots, strength 5, EP3 on the cavalry, which I'm no longer able to because those shots here have been reduced. So that's something I need to be aware of. And he also got on 1 dice will turn somewhere. On my turn 2, I take some charges, so I charge Leviathan, who fled off the board, and then I redirect on 11, but I missed that charge on the unit of auxiliaries, which would have been quite juicy, 11 swift, because as you can see, I'm able to chaff here the unit of spear. That's something I checked before, so the spear chaffed, the judicator in the flank, meaning the incarnate here would be safe for a while. I'm not sure I'm able to break them in 1 turn due to the academy training, but even if I'm not, it's even better potentially for me to then turn around 1 turn later. I redeploy the anointed toward the middle. I don't push too much because this unit is not chaffed, this unit is not chaffed. So I keep them in the front and I'm just ready to punish. And I just place everything looking in the middle. So my Bastion is slightly exposed, the rest moves slightly back. As you can see, he has very long charge range with this unit. So I'm really zoned by that. And I wasn't able to chaff both block with the Vassal Levies. I'm only able to chaff one. So I just redeploy my Overlord and look here in the middle to protect with counter charges. So basically the cavalry can go into this unit, no problem for me. Because I will be able to stand and shoot, I'm going to be steadfast, and I have the Overlord ready also as a potential countercharger. He can go into the Bastion with 2 units, but then I have a lot of countercharge setup, and the Bastion was, the Giant was able to go out of line of sight. So in case he doesn't do anything, any charge with the cavalry, I'm basically threatening his backline now. With the Giant can go around, can go plenty of stuff. So I'm quite happy about the positioning here. We go into magic. I get a press weapon and a pentagram, kill some Judicators, and that was it. On his turn too, so before I switch to the slide, what he has is a charge on a 9 for this unit here, and a charge on a 7 rollable for the cavalry, so easy on the Bastion. He's going to take his time out. Not sure I understand correctly what he spoke about with his coach, but at the end he elected to double charge my Bastion. So I'm under Twisted Effigy, meaning I cannot stand and shoot. So I think for him the main goal here was to say, okay, I didn't suffer any casualties, so it's maybe the best time to engage. But at the same time, on my side, I was quite surprised by the choice, because the Bastion should be steadfast no matter what. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 counter charge setup. So I was totally feeling okay with that. And if only the cavalry, which has an easy charge, makes it, yeah, then I can easily only send 1 counter charge or maybe 2 to clean that up and focus my forces otherwise. So okay, I felt okay with that. And then if there is no cavalry on the right, this opens up suddenly a potential play for my scoring unit to go on the wall, because it's only turn 2. So okay, curious about that decision. He makes both charges, so Judicator comes in, and those guys as well. So we'll see how that goes. He charges with the spear against my chaff. It chaffs my Cardim Incarnate with the cavalry, and the rest, yeah, just here, she's going to be ready to shoot at my Giant. In magic phase, he got only scrying on the Judicator. I remember not being so unlucky with magic phase. He was only able to get scrying and to get the attribute of divination on those guys here. So okay, attribute of divination is quite important to stick some nervy potential combat test in the future. But yes, scrying is not the worst. I was focused on denying him any offensive buff, basically, because I didn't want him to strike even harder than he is at the moment. Close combat, yeah, he did a good amount of casualties, but I have like 4 or 5 ranks left, so like 8 dwarves after the combat. And due to Infernal Burnt, I'm double my ranks, so I'm easily steadfast. I stick on a 9 rollable, and then it's my turn to charge, so that's going to be exciting now. He easily killed every guy in the unit, more or less. I think maybe 2 of them fled, not sure about that, but I think he kills them. So let's go. Yeah, I have 1 guy remaining here, so I sent everybody in. The Lugar's automatic, the Anointed automatic, so he reformed the cavalry looking that way here. So I got them in the flank, in the face of the cavalry. Then I charge here in the corner with the Overlord into the Judicator, and in this side, my Infernal Warrior with Great Weapon onto the Judicator as well. And I even bring the Giant. I felt I don't want to get charged by his chariot, which is a bit scary on the chart. So I use the hill, and I come here. I elected not to look. I could have potentially oriented a bit otherwise, but I wanted to make sure he cannot chaff me. So even if this combat lasts a bit, if he sends some other forces, if something goes wrong, I just wanted to be safe. That the Giant can also go in if I need to. Other than go here on the right flank and do stuff that wouldn't matter. I just wanted to be safe, and then the Giant can also act at some point against the spears, maybe that could be a potential target. So I just bring him closer. So that's why the move here into this position here that achieves two purposes: potential countercharge and potential go for the spear. The Incarnate go hit the fast cav. Those guys, since they clean the chaff, they get an incendiary token, so potential combat against my two flaming units here are slightly better for me than expected due to the flaming token. And we'll see how that goes, so that's going to be quite exciting. But I was feeling very confident about this combat. I sent so many points in the combat. I mean, that's like 3,500 points in this combat. It's crazy. In Magic Phase, I remember him being able to dispel the Rot Within with 2 dice against my 3, which was slightly annoying. But then I was able to get a Brace Weapon on my Overlord. And I also got, at the end, a Pentagram on the Spears, because he had magical resistance on the Judicator. And I felt after that combat, if I reduce the Spear, I mean, he has only the Spears left after that. If I win that combat, which is my expectation, and he breaks, then I have a lot of combat unit against Spears, so that should be easy. Those guys were on turn 3, so those guys can reform and try to go here in 3 turns. Could be doable with some reform and March 9, I mean, should be okay. And the rest can focus in the forward combat. Between Incarnate and Lugars, I think the Spears will at some point, they can eat the first unit, but they will suffer some casualties in return. They can maybe eat another one, but then they will die at some point. And my Overlord will be most likely fit enough to come. So wave after wave, I mean, my expectation was to go on a big win after that amount of countercharge and the setup of the overall game. So we will see. I put an attribute of Alchemy to get a reroll to wound on the Lugars in this turn against them. So the Lugars should be doing a lot of damage with their strength 6 and high amount of attack. Let's move on to the close combat. So I think, shooting nothing matter, close combat. The Incarnate clean the chaff and reform, but I did that after the big combat. So the big combat, from what I remember, we have the Overlord in base contact here, corner to corner with a character. So he's going to issue a challenge to avoid me being able, with this character, to avoid me being able to use the Breast Weapon against the Judicator, which is a very smart choice. That's also the time where I realized I could have potentially cast the Breast Weapon on something else. I didn't want to cast it on the Bastion because the Bastion was lost already 3 wounds, so he could strike everything at the Bastion, kill him, and then I lose the Breast Weapon. I could have cast it at the Anointed, but I was feeling between Anointed and Lugars I should be able to kill all of them. So that's why I put it on the Overlord. But now I'm in a challenge against this character and I'm not going to use the Breast Weapon right now, so I need to wait another turn basically. So that's well done. So we go into this combat. I use the Kingslayer and I just clean his character. I think it was a general, so the BSB is still in the unit. We go, so he kills some of my guy, kills some guys here, he kills the Bastion, so yeah, he did a good amount of wounds with the Judicator. I remember I did a good amount of in return here. He strike with the cavalry, and I remember at the time I was like, I was getting track of the combat results, static res, wounds done. Before I strike with the left flank, I was like, it was almost a tie. I was like losing by 1 before everything in the left strikes. So I had 1 impacted strength 5, I have 7 attack strength 7 on the cavalry, which is quite nice, hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s, and then he has no armor saves, so that should do a lot. And then here I have about 6 white, so 18, 19 attacks on the 4s and 2s rollable. So I was expecting here to secure myself, to kill all of them and secure an auto break or very complicated check for the remaining Judicators. But this happens, unfortunately, which is the Lugars and the Choke Anointed both fluff. And as you can see, I mean, the 9 wounds, it's the beginning of the normal stat, we could say. So it's not something crazy. I mean, it's an expected result, which is still not the average. On average, I should easily clean the unit. So I think my decisions here were right. But I just fluffed with both. I remember the Lugars were really horrendous. I rolled like 19 dice. I made only like 4 hits. It was something crazy. So yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. That's dice. I always say it on the channel. When you go into combat, then it's down to the dice, and you never know what to expect. And I roll really low on both, so that's the blue area is, I think, is a very good color because it sums up the tiers that you have when you see this kind of result. But that's how it is. So now we need to do a check. He's losing only by 2. So where I expected an auto break or something very hard, it's only -2. He sticks with the cavalry. I kill only 4 guys, and he sticks with the Judicator, which were on minimize. So minimize 7, it's like a 9 rollable, so that's totally fine. But as you can see now, the spear are free to charge, so I needed to find a reform to make that not too problematic for me. So that's how I achieve it. So he charged me with the spear into that combat. He attempted the Beast Breaker on a mid-range, like a 7, and he failed that one. And then the Chariot moves on the hill to shoot me and also zone that combat. He chaffs me with the auxiliaries on the Incarnates. So it's not the end. It's not the end of the game. He still has a couple of Judicators left. As you can see, my Bastion unit, almost everybody dies. The characters are now in the front. The Bastion himself dies. I still have the General in the fight here, in base contact with both. So still everything is linked. So it's a strange combat actually. But yeah, that's how it looks like at his turn 3. He got that needed a mount check to chaff my Incarnate was quite important, I remember. Then he got a big Twisted Effigy on my General to make -2 on my magic. And that was it. A close combat from what I remember. So here, since I was looking this way with the lookers, he was killing guys from here behind, and at some point we lose contact, making it 2 separate combat, but at the same time we take for both combat result all the wounds done, and he did quite a lot on me again. I remember here I kill everybody except the character, because now I use the breast weapon. I did everything. I think I used the breast weapon on those guys, so I kill them between the anointed and the breast weapon, and I strike everything in the front between the overlord and everything I had, and I just kill every Judicator remaining except the character, who needed to check on +1, and he passes the +1 rollable. It was the PSB, so +1 rollable passed. Okay, slightly annoying. He wasn't minimized this time, if I recall correctly. So he wasn't minimized, so he's still here sticking me, which is very annoying because, as you can see, it's my turn next. Meaning I could pursue easily with those guys. They could pursue that way. Maybe they find themselves in a spot with some juicy line of sight. Thinking especially here, potentially. So I could have had some opportunities here with those guys. Could have also pursued the Overlord potentially and be free to do stuff on turn 4, to act potentially in the spear combat as a support, because my Lugar did stick in the combat. So I had plenty of things to do. Those guys could have also turned around and provide a counter charge here. I had a lot of stuff that I could do. So I was a bit disappointed by that. It's another disappointment in the combat, but that's how it is. You can't choose. Now it was I was thinking it was turn 5 and I lost turn 4, but we only played to turn 4, so that's turn 4. It took a lot of time. We took a lot of time in this game. So we have the charge here from the Overlord that's going to try to finish his BSB, because his BSB is quite killy and he's base contact with my characters and stuff that can easily die against him. So I don't want to lose point on that. My General has only 1 wound left, so I charge him in the flank with my General to make that sure. Since it's the last turn, I charge here to get those guys. I chaff them to avoid them going into my train. Here I think what would have been a better solution, because you can see there is only 5 Lugars alive, so they're going to die. He's going to get the free pivot and be able to charge. I think what would have been a better solution potentially, yeah, it depends a bit. I could have placed the Anointed here to just tell him, if you charge me, I flee and you cannot enter into the train. But at the same time, if you get a free pivot and I'm stuck here, you could have charged me in the flank, I guess. Yeah, I think both are decent solution. But I just wanted to make sure that he doesn't get an overrun into the train. He cannot reform in a conga and go around me in the train. So that's fine. The giant had nothing to do from here. I think we figure out, I'm just having a look at the pictures. yeah, from here I was too far to get any charge, so I just moved out of the way. Didn't want to get any easy points. What will happen in the close combat? He kills the Luger. I stick the 9 rollable here, which was quite important. I kill his BSB. The Incarnate did some wound, but I think he stick this turn. Yeah, exactly. And his turn, he charged. He had obviously no overrun into the Incarnates. I'm going to eat the auxiliaries. Is going to eat my anointed, and that's going to be the end of the game. So I'm winning 14-6, and we both draw on the secondary objective, which yeah, makes it a quite close fight, despite how it went quickly into combat, which I felt was heavily in my favor on turn 3, but didn't turn up the way I expected, and that's why it still remains a very close result at the end. So to sum it up, happy to start. It was more a gauge battle than expected. I didn't expect him to come so quickly in the combat, because I felt it was in my favor, and I think yeah, checking the stat and the math confirmed me in the impression that I got that he cannot really engage my Bastion this way, because I had too many counter charge already. Early trap for the Mist Leviathan worked really well with my Incarnate. Yeah, they surprised him to commit, but I think it was also due to the Twisted Effigy that he forced on turn 1 on the small card, which then allows him to come in combat with Judicator that were full. I think he was afraid that I could be able to push later on and basically do some damage, and then the Judicator, if they are less than 20, they are even less likely to do anything against my army. Turn 3, yeah, I think the huge disappointment in the close combat. I sent a lot of points in the combat, but like I said, I mean, it's a dice game, and when you are in this kind of combat, I was really feeling confident because I rolled everything before the Great Weapon. We were close to a draw, and then it's the time really to shine and make it an auto break, and that's this time where basically I didn't make it. So that's how it is. You cannot choose everything, but yeah, I was quite confident about that combat. And at the end, yeah, it took a bit more point than expected. I think that's the outcome of this disappointing turn 3 for on my side, is the fact that Dan is able to eat the Lugars and eat the Anointed, which maybe wouldn't have happened, or he would have maybe hit them, but then in return I would have taken the spears at some point. So that's the disappointment. Okay, the round result. It was really close. As you can see, we had an expected result of 86 after the pairing. As I did before, here you have our matrix rating, and here you have the result. So as you can see, we had a good pairing with 2 straight negative, but then in return for that, we have 6 straight positive and a draw. So the 10-10 ended up 10-10. Paul did slightly lower than the 12. Coco managed to get a very good outcome from his bad matchup to up to a 12. Then we got Victor a bit less than expected. Xavier also slightly less than expected. Myself 14, which is actually, as you can see, the biggest result of this round, because we only got 3 wins. We only got 12, 12, 14, and the rest is 4, 10, 10, and a big loss here. The big loss that moved us down from a 90 plus to yeah, maybe not 90, but close to 90, down to something very close to a draw actually. So we got a lot of draws in this round. But some good result, I think, here from Andy and Coco on a hard matchup to get no defeat. So it was a solid round, a very close round. And I think also due to the configuration of the diagonal with the King of the Hill, it makes it very often drawish, because you can pick something in the strong flank, and then it's hard for your opponent to contest it. So I think the combination of that didn't make... I would be very curious to see, I didn't check it, to see if anyone did win the secondary in this game. In this round, my expectation would be that there wasn't a lot of secondary won in this round that we played against Team USA. But yeah, congrats to them for the round. It was a close round, so we expected better than that, obviously, because we wanted to climb back the ladder, but we still ended up, yeah, like after the 10th place, I would say, after this round, with this small win against Team USA. Okay guys, that's all for this battle report. Thanks a lot for watching, and talk to you soon for the game number 4. Bye.